It's a huge moneymaker for Australia. So it's really helped boost the Australian economy during the impact that COVID has had. So now they're really looking to hurt Australia because it's such a big moneymaker for the country.
China is not happy with Australia. A few months into the COVID-19 pandemic, Prime Minister Scott Morrison led a global call for an independent investigation into the origins of coronavirus.
We need to know how this started so we can prepare and we can protect against the next pandemic. There is no agenda in that.
China spat the dummy. Our relationship status with the biggest trading partner went from rosy to it's complicated basically overnight. In retaliation for turning the spotlight on its handling of COVID, Beijing declared war on Australia's trade markets, targeting everything from wine to barley, beef and coal. It was devastating and costly, and countless sectors struggled at a time when they could least afford to. One major market not affected by this crippling act of political and economic coercion was iron ore, until now. Sarah Sharples is news.com.au's finance editor. Sarah, let me start with a basic question for you. What is iron ore and how much money does Australia make from it?
So iron ore is basically rocks and minerals in the ground, and the key material, iron ore, is extracted from that and generally made into steel. So it's used in a number of industries, everything from construction to transportation to energy infrastructure and even household appliances. There's quite a huge amount of iron ore in Australia, particularly in Western Australia. Globally, there's estimated to be around 170 billion iron ore, and Australia accounts for about 30% of that. It made 149 billion last financial year, and that was record-breaking amount. So it's really helped boost the Australian economy during the impact that COVID has had.
China has long been our biggest iron ore customer, but then suddenly, less and less so. They've slashed how much iron ore they buy. How come?
So Beijing boasted back in August that they'd slashed iron ore imports from Australia by about 50%. They've said that they're going to continue to wean themselves off iron ore. There's a nasty trade dispute going on between the countries. They've directed their steelmakers to cut their production for the rest of the year. They're saying this is also so they can help cut emissions. And with the Winter Olympics coming up next year in February, they won't load of smog and pollution hanging over the city. So it may be the incentive they need to cut iron ore and hurt Australia.
But they still need our iron ore, right?
Yeah, that's right. They do need our iron ore because part of the way the Chinese have navigated COVID is to stimulate their economy through construction. And obviously, if you're building loads of properties, apartments, houses, you need steel. So there's no way they can avoid getting steel from Australia because some of the larger producers around the world are also facing difficulties. So in Brazil, there was a major mining disaster a few years ago.
Indo pra lá pra cá. Tipo assim, eu tentando fugir dela, ela aproximava, eu ia para lado, aproximava, eu ia para outro. Mas aquele momento ali é a única coisa.
China accounts for about 60% of iron ore from Australia, so that's a huge number. They really do take a lot from us.
Sarah, it's been said that the iron ore sector kept the economy alive during the COVID crisis. Basically, we avoided catastrophe because of it. Just how critical is it to our future prosperity?
Yeah, so iron ore was critical to Australia. It knocked off 50 billion off the deficit of the budget from just last year. So it made a huge dent. Yet China is doing its best to try and tank the price. So that's billions lost for the Australian economy. There's also forecasts that by the middle of the decade, China could cease shipments from Australia. And if that were to happen, that would be devastating for Australian finances. Would mean services that everyday Australians rely on would suffer.